Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank Angelo Catanzaro, the president of A.I.P.S, the Italian Association of Spastic Paralysis, for his kind invitation to speak to you today. Sono il direttore della divisione che si occupa delle politiche sociali e dello sviluppo alle Nazioni Unite di New York presso il Dipartimento per gli Affari Economici e Sociali. And I would like to make some remarks about employment of persons with disabilities and their difficulties to gain equal access to labor markets. The world is facing a serious job challenge, globally and in Europe. Millions of people have been pushed into unemployment since the beginning of the economic crisis, and the situation is only slowly improving. Even before the crisis, employment rate of persons with disabilities was barely above 30% in some countries, well below that of the overall population. When employed, persons with disabilities commonly earn less than their counterparts without disabilities, and women with the disabilities commonly earn less than men with disabilities. Yet, employment and decent work are fundamental to alleviating poverty and the key to social inclusion. There is ample evidence to show that persons with disabilities experience multiple barriers to gainful employment. It is harder for persons with disabilities to escape from poverty due to lack of physical access to employment, which is connected to daily travel costs to work, actual work setting, and opportunities to promote self-employment. Persons with disabilities, including children, face marginalization in education and training, which in turn affect prospects of employment. Insufficient laws and regulations can inhibit their participation in employment. If persons with disabilities are to overcome exclusion, they must have access to jobs and meaningful work. In the division I lead, there is also the Secretariat for the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, because in my division we have the focal point for the whole United Nations systems on disability. And we work with governments, other UN entities that are also working in the area of disability, as well as the civil society organizations. And our aim is to translate mandates on disability into practical actions on the ground. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities recognizes the right to employment on an equal basis with others. Furthermore, the Convention prohibits all forms of employment discrimination, promotes access to vocational training, promotes opportunities for self-employment, and calls for reasonable accommodation in the workplace, among other provisions, of course. Investment in persons with disabilities is necessary not only to promote compliance with the Convention, and of course also with the outcome document of the UN High-Level Meeting on Disability and Development that took place in September 2013, but also for the realization of the internationally agreed development goals, including the Millennium Development Goals. The European Union Disability Strategy for the decade 2010 to 2020 aims similarly at eliminating barriers, preventing discrimination, and empowering people with disabilities to enjoy fully their rights and participation in society on an equal terms with others. Access to employment is the most cost-effective method of reducing poverty among people with disabilities and their families, as well as the communities. The majority of persons with disabilities can contribute to economic productivity once barriers to their participation are removed. And this can maximize the use of human resources and increase individual well-being as well as national output. Apart from income, employment also promotes human dignity and social cohesion. All individuals should be able to determine their own destiny and develop their capacity to their full potential, removing physical barriers, Attitudinal and institutional barriers to their participation can bring numerous benefits to individuals living with disabilities, including self-esteem, enhanced well-being, and a stronger sense of empowerment. This, in turn, brings benefits to society as a whole, including greater social cohesion. The prevalence of disability is expected to increase in the coming decades, unfortunately. So, accommodating the increasingly numbers of persons with disabilities in the working age population is a challenge unless investments to create an enabling environment are made now to bring long-term benefits to all the members of society. So, I have the sincere hope that your conference will contribute to these objectives that are so crucial for persons with disabilities. Well, I wish you all the best in your endeavors, and thank you again for your commitment to these very important issues that are so dear to the United Nations.